Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Journey to Tech with Craig. Today, in our Python tutorial beginner series, we are going to talk about variables. Let's get straight into it. What are variables? Variables are basically containers for storing data. You can liken variables to boxes. Just as how boxes can contain various items, such as you can have a box of books, a box of paper, a box of toys, or a box of groceries. Variables are similarly containers that contain different types of data. So some examples of types of data that a variable can contain would be numbers. It can be numbers such as whole numbers, which are integers, or it can be numbers with decimals. Similarly, variables can store text. Text could be complete sentences, a phrase, or even a single letter. It can also contain lists of items. The possibilities are endless. Variables can store a wide range of different types of data. So let's get into our program to see how variables work.
In Python, there is no special way of creating a variable. Variables are created once you assign values to it, or once you assign data to it. Let's say we're gonna use variables for a queuing system at a bank. So let's type some code. The first thing I'm going to do is type a comment which actually says what I'm about to do. Queuing system, Queue system for a bank. Gonna press Shift Enter. Nothing is shown on the screen because this is just a comment that actually tells you what the program is about. Let's say we want to define the following variables: name, and we'll give the name of the person Bob, and queuing position, or rather position in queue is 2. Shift Enter for it to accept the value, and then we're going to print the name and the position in queue to the screen. So if we put print and the name, then it shows us Bob. If we put print and the position in queue, it shows 2. So you define it here. The name stores the data Bob, and the position in queue stores the number 2. And when we print these variables, because these are now assigned to these variables, it will show the actual values on the screen. What if it changes? Let's change Bob to Jane and change this to 5. We can press Shift Enter, or we can click on this arrow up here, run the cell and advance. Nothing happens, but if we click Run here, Bob is now changed to Jane, and position in queue is now changed to 5. So basically that's what a variable does. It simply stores data. Let's have a little more fun with it. Let's say we want to say good morning and name. Let's say we want to say good morning to the person. Alright, let's see if this works. It says good morning Jane. And let's say we want to say you are at position Don't worry about the syntax. This will be addressed in later videos. But what I'm doing here, because position in queue is a number, I am putting it in the format of text so that it can be joined to this text that is there before. In the line. All right, let's see if this works. Okay, it says you are at position 5 in the line. So basically, as you can see with these examples here, whatever is stored in these variables is being shown to the screen when you use the print function. So you can print them by itself, or you can print them as part of, for example, a greeting that you want to say to the person, or a message notifying them that they're in a certain position in the line. Okay, on to the next thing that I want to show you. We currently have name assigned as Jane, and we have our variable position in queue assigned to 5. Just to recap, what you see when you print the variable the variable name, you see Jane. If you print the position in queue, you see 5. But what happens if we do this? In queue is equal to 10. What happens if we do that? What will we see this time? Let's find out. Let's see what happens when we print name. It now shows Gertrude. And if we print position in queue, it shows 10. So this is the next thing I want to show you. Even though you defined your variables up here and assigned Jane to the variable name and 5 to the variable position in queue, once you define it later on, it gets replaced by the latest value. So this is something that you should bear in mind whenever you program, that if you assign a value to a variable later after you've assigned it previously, the latest value always replaces the previous value. Okay, I'm going to do another example. Let's say the position in queue is now updated to 1. And we want to show a greeting. Alright, so we print good morning. Oops, spelling right there. Good morning, it shows good morning Gertrude. And the position in queue was previously 10, but we now updated it to 1. So let me just copy this up here and let's see what happens. It says you're at position 1 in the line. So this is the thing I wanted to demonstrate. The latest value always replaces what was there before. Another thing I want to show you is the fact that variables in Python are case sensitive. Let us demonstrate with an example. Let's say we have our variable and it's called fruit. We assign to the fruit variable apple. And we defined a similar variable, but this time this one is in all caps. We define it as strawberry. What do you think will happen if I say print fruit? In other words, show what the fruit variable is show what type of fruit the fruit variable is displaying. Will it display apple or will it display strawberry? The answer is apple. That is because variables in Python are case sensitive. Once the case is different, even if the words are the same, they are treated as two separate variables. So similarly, if we print fruit, that is in all caps, it shows as strawberry. So variables in Python are case sensitive. So this is something that you should bear in mind as you program. Even though it is not required in Python, there is a way for you to specify the type of data that you want to store in a variable. I'm going to demonstrate this using 3 examples. We're going to use 3 variables called x, y, and z. And let's say we want to assign the value 3, right? Let's start off with x. We want to assign the value 3 as a whole number. So what we're going to do is say int 3. Now int in this case represents an integer, which is also known as a whole number. Don't worry, as we go along and as we explore data types in subsequent videos, you will get the hang of this. And let's say our variable y, we want to represent the number 3 as a decimal. So we'd say float 3, right? Floats are basically decimals. For example, 3.2, 3.5, 4.4, etc. And let's say for our variable z, we want to represent the number 3 as text instead of a number. So we'd say str, which stands for string 3. Alright? We press shift enter, and we're going to print all of them. Print x, print y, print z. And let's see what happens. As you can see, the first one is shown to the screen as an integer that is a whole number. The second is represented as a decimal, so the number 3 is represented as a decimal as 3.0. The third one, this might look like an integer, but it's actually a text. So it is represented, the number 3 is represented as a text, just as how you would have as a text strawberry, apple in the previous examples. The last thing I want to share in this section is that there are standards for variable names in Python. Variable names can contain letters, numbers, and the underscore character. As you can see, it can be uppercase or it can be lowercase. Generally speaking, most variables tend to be lowercase or a mixture of upper and lowercase, and a lot of them also contain underscore. But there is a restriction. Variables cannot begin with numbers. If you try to define a variable with a number, you might get an error. Let's experiment with this a little. Let's call a variable, what shall we call it? Country. And we say the country is Jamaica. If you run it, it runs okay without errors, and especially if you print it. If you print with that variable, you'll see Jamaica. But what if we began the variable with a number? let's say 1234 underscore country, spelled country wrong, is equal to Ecuador. Let's see what happens if we run it. We get a syntax error. It says invalid decimal literal, so basically you cannot define a variable starting with a number. However, this is valid. We start the variable with an underscore character. And let's say underscore country, let's say it is Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic. Have to work on my spelling. Shift enter, that's accepted, and if we choose to show the value to the screen, it shows Dominican Republic. Let's try with another character other than an underscore or an alphanumeric character. Let's say we let's begin it with an @ sign. At state is equal to California. Again, we get a syntax error. So let's go over the rules again. Variable names can contain letters, numbers, and the underscore character. Variables can start with an alphabet character or an underscore, but it cannot begin with numbers. Additionally, other special characters are not accepted, and if you try to define it as such, you will get an error.
We just covered variables. I hope that this was a good lesson for you. If it was, feel free to like and comment below this video so that I can know that this is helping you. Also, if there are things that you are not clear about, feel free to comment as well so that I can address them in future videos. There are more topics in Python coming up, so make sure that you click on the subscribe button so that you can know when the next video drops. It was my pleasure delivering this to you, and I hope that you have been finding this useful so far, and more to come. So stay tuned as we continue this journey to tech with Craig.